What's up, everybody? Tony from Destination Pro Wrestling just checking in. Daniel Bryan's debut, the plans that AEW has in place. Very interesting stuff. We're going to talk about what I see happening, what could potentially happen, and whether or not AEW is actually going to be able to pull this off. Because if you guys didn't know, there are some things happening in the real world that could actually impact this debut. But I'm going to go into all the details in today's video. So with that being said, let's get into it. So let's just be real. Daniel Bryan going to AEW pretty much sounds like a sure thing, but if we're being honest, this is massive. This is big. It's probably the biggest signing that's ever happened in the last 20 years. I'm being completely honest here. I don't think there's ever really been a bigger signing, and that's good not only for AEW, not only for Daniel Bryan, but also for pro wrestling in general. Things are starting to shake up. Things are heating up, but there are some issues with this, and it really goes down to, the real world. And I mentioned this earlier. There's a lot of things happening in the real world that could impact this debut, and I'll get into that in a second. But if you guys didn't know, the plan currently is for Daniel Bryan to not debut until September 22nd, meaning Daniel Bryan will not debut in AEW until after All Out. The main reason for that is because CM Punk is pretty much a sure lock for Chicago that week, and they don't want Daniel Bryan's debut overshadowing that. That sounds very interesting, but according to reports, it makes a lot of sense, right? If accurate, you got CM Punk, one of the biggest signings. Guy hasn't wrestled in 7 years. It's going to be a big deal. But of course, AEW is coming to Queens, New York City. It's a stadium show, September 22nd, and Daniel Bryan is expected to show up at this show. Now, I am going to discuss some ways that they can utilize Daniel Bryan in this situation, because it sounds like Daniel Bryan will be brought in as a top babyface for the company. All the rumors, all the reports are pointing in that direction, which is awesome. So how does AEW pull it off? Well, before we could discuss the actual plan for Daniel Bryan that is possibly going to happen on that night, we have to discuss the real world and what it entails, because if you didn't know, there are some things happening. Now, I don't want to get political. I don't want to have a debate about COVID or anything like that, but right now we are seeing another surge with COVID. And this time it's even gone as far as the state of New York talking about mandating vaccines and whatnot. Now, if you didn't know, since touring has come back to pro wrestling companies like WWE and AEW have essentially only targeted states that have been known to be very open when it comes to COVID-19. So you might have noticed that UFC, WWE, and AEW have done a lot of shows in Texas or Florida. There is a reason for that, because those states essentially don't really have any guidelines when it comes to COVID. Now, New York did announce that there will be a COVID-19 mandate for the vaccine. There's a whole bunch of rules coming into play. The government is coming out talking about bringing out the masks again. And this whole thing gets really chaotic. And like I said, I don't want to get political with it, but we got to talk about it, because that date of September 22nd could technically be in danger. Now, this really depends on how things unfold with the government and COVID-19. But the plan is for AEW to have Daniel Bryan debut in the stadium show. This would happen weeks after All Out. So Daniel Bryan debuting in the same night as CM Punk. We all know why that would be bad, right? Two major signings happening in the one same night. You obviously want to use some of that screen time to also put over some of your developing talent, MJF, and you guys know what I mean. So AEW having both debuts being separate is a good thing. One, it's going to get people excited about CM Punk and AEW. People will talk about it a little bit after the debut. And then it also gives people the opportunity to get excited about the debut of Daniel Bryan. So what I fully expect by September 22nd, if this show still continues, if it still makes, TV and they're still there in New York, what I fully expect is for Daniel Bryan to come out as a babyface. There is talks about Daniel Bryan being immediately thrown into top babyface status of the company, which makes a lot of sense. Now, I think Daniel Bryan is going to go into AEW and will eventually be the next world champion. But this is where I'm getting really excited. There is talks of Kenny Omega dropping his belt to Adam Hangman Page at some point in the near future. With Hangman Page possibly winning the championship, I can expect Hangman Page being dropped post-fight, post-match beatdown by the Elite, right? you got Gallows, you got everybody. And then what happens is Daniel Bryan's music hits. The lights go out. Yes Chance obviously will fill up the arena. Daniel Bryan goes out to make the save, but also what interestingly happens is right after he goes face to face with Hangman Page and looks at the belt. I think we're going to see two baby faces look at each other in the eyes, and for the next few months they are going to progress kind of like a tag team, not an official tag team going for tag team championships, but they will be fighting against the Elite in some capacity. This gives them a couple months of showing Daniel Bryan and Hangman Page side by side, and then eventually you can have Hangman Page turn heel. You can do whatever. You can have two baby faces fight for the belt. It doesn't really matter. But I think we're going to see a lot of interactivity between Daniel Bryan, Hangman Page, and the Elite. Now, this is awesome because this can also set up potential singles matches for Daniel Bryan and, of course, Kenny Omega. This also allows us to get some tag team matches with Hangman Page, Daniel Bryan versus the Young Bucks, or Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. So Daniel Bryan going to AEW, it sounds like it's almost a sure thing that he's going to be there September 22nd. And I think that way of Daniel Bryan immediately becoming a top babyface without necessarily being given a world championship match, it allows him to get some wins on his record. It allows him to share the ring with guys we haven't seen before. At least on national TV. And then it's going to lead some very awesome stuff, including a world title match. And I think if you're AEW, that is the best way to go about it. If I'm AEW, I'm excited about Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, however you refer to it, it doesn't really matter. But guys, that's the beauty of AEW right now. You just don't know what to expect. There's a lot of uncertainty for good or for worse. And I'm excited about it. September 22nd, stadium show, if it continues to go on, if AEW keeps the show going, if COVID doesn't mess anything up, this would be massive for AEW. It will be massive for pro wrestling, and I'm all about it. That is something I'm looking forward to. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. My name is Tony. This is Destination Pro Wrestling. We got Discord. We got channel memberships. We got so much stuff happening. You guys have been killing it. All the new subscribers, I appreciate you. All the likes, all the comments. Just seeing you guys engage with my content is just really incredible. So I greatly appreciate that. I can't wait to bring you guys more videos. There is a lot more coming. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And I promise you, things are going to be really sick here at Destination Pro Wrestling. Because like I said, we're killing it right now. We got a lot of stuff happening, a lot of things to talk about, and wrestling is probably the funnest it's been in such a long time. And I'm not shocked. It took a pandemic to happen, but after the pandemic, it seemed like AEW and WWE were both going to shake the ground a little bit. So let me know what you guys think down below. I'll see you next time.